satisfying great pleasure to introduce you to the teams that are going to be participating on the sheets directly below you. Let's start things right off on sheet A. Rolling the red, the Blue Stones. Still red, still seeing red. North Winter, if you're up there, change it to red. Yes, I'm telling you. Red Stones on sheet A. Let's hear it for Team Yukon.
Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as it is seeding pool action at the 2023 Everest Senior Curling Championships here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. My name is Al Cameron. My pleasure to bring you tonight's game between a pair of teams that many thought would be contenders here at the Everest Seniors, but it has not been their week, but still plenty of pride on the line anytime teams from Alberta and Ontario go head-to-head at a national championship. We'll run down the lineups for these two teams. It'll be Alberta versus Ontario. Team Alberta from the Sherwood Park Curling Club, it is Skip James Paul. The third is Mark Plank. The second is Kelly Moffey. The lead, John Schmidt. And the alternate, Corey Wilson. And Alberta comes into this game with a 2-5 record. Suffice it to say, it did not go their way in the preliminary pool play. This is a team that finished second at the Everest Seniors last year, and they came in with high expectations, but just a series of bad breaks, the occasional miss, and that is curling in a nutshell. If it doesn't go your way, it doesn't go your way, and it has not gone Team Alberta's way. They come in, as mentioned, with that 2-5 record, but they did start the seeding pool earlier today with a 9-2 win over Team Yukon, so they're going to look to finish this week strong here at the Vernon Curling Club. They are taking on Team Ontario, another team that arrived with high expectations. Brian Cochran's team from the Russell Curling Club. Brian, a two-time Canadian senior champion, former world senior champion, and a team that has an abundance of podium finishes at this event, but a 3-3 record in the preliminary round did not get them into the championship pool. Skip Brian Cochran. The third is Ian McCauley. Second, Graham Sinclair. The lead is Ken Sullivan. The alternate, John Rothwell. I mentioned that 4-3 record. They increased to 4-3 earlier today with a victory that was an 11-2 over Nunavut. So they're looking, again, pride on the line. No doubt who's going to buy after the game will be on the line. And obviously the seeding pool does play a role in determining the final standings of the Everest Seniors. It also plays a role in determining points towards the MA Cup, which is, of course, the season-long competition between all of the member associations of Curling Canada based on their results at the national championships. So we are underway here in the first end. It is Ontario with Last Rock, and already you see that Ontario team sitting a couple. Ice here at the Vernon Curling Club has been stellar, suffice it to say. Dave Merklinger is the manager here at the club. He, of course, does a lot of the ice work here, but this week he is busy as the vice chair of the host committee for the Everest Seniors. He and Mark Longworth doing just a lot of work behind the scenes to make this event a success. So he's turned over the chief ice technician duties to his son, Mike. And Mike has put together an ice surface that will curl both ways, into the center, out to the wings, and is fast. Over 15 seconds hog to hog is typically what they're looking at to get to the tee line, and that is fast ice, and it's been fun ice. It's good sweeping ice. Lots of shots can be made. We'll see what these two teams have in store for us. These are the silver medalists at the last two Canadian Senior Championships. Team Alberta finished second last year to another Ontario team that was skipped by Howard Rajala. Of course, that Rajala team did go on to win the gold medal at the World Seniors in Gangneung, South Korea. Team Brian Cochran, three of these four members won silver in 2021 as well as 2019. Gold medals in 2016 and 2018. And then they went on to the World Seniors. Of course, you go to the World Seniors the year after you win. So at the 2017 World Seniors in Lethbridge, Alberta, this Cochrane team did win a silver medal. Lost in that final to Sweden. Then last in 2019 at Stavanger, Norway, Team Cochrane got that long-awaited gold medal for Team Canada. So, as mentioned, just a lot of national and international experience on this Cochrane team. No doubt a little disappointed not to be in that championship pool, but I have zero doubt whatsoever that they're already making plans to play at the Ontario Senior Men's Championship and see if they can take a run at getting back to next year's Everest Canadian Seniors in Moncton, New Brunswick. So we're on second stones here in the first end. Over to second, Kelly Mothy works as a member services specialist for Alberta Milk. And see if they can get around. There's an example of that curl. Will it be enough, though? It's going to take that Ontario stone out. It will stay at the back, and it looks like Ontario still sitting shot rock. A chance to now hit that open Alberta stone at the top 12 and potentially sit a couple. Now, you may have seen Brian Cochran put something in his mouth. That's a whistle. He uses that whistle, and just you'd hear, if you were in the club, you'd hear short little peeps. He has a throat issue that prevents him from yelling and or calling to his sweepers. That's the polite way to put it, of course. And that is the signal to tell his sweepers on and off. Now, he always will write permission whenever he's participating in a national, international event, because technically it's against the rules to use anything other than your voice to communicate with your sweepers. But because he does have the medical condition, he is granted permission to use that whistle. And as I said, if you're on the ice surface, you would actually barely notice it. Just you might think if there's a bird someplace. That is something that he has used for many, many years now. His team's used to it and works out quite nicely for him. That is going to roll over, and Alberta sitting a couple. Ian McCauley, long time teammate of Brian Cochran. All those folks in Ontario are quite used to seeing Ian and Brian as teammates. Back when Brian has won 2 Purple Hearts to play at the Brier. He won in 2003, playing out of Ontario, and then also represented Prince Edward Island at a Brier with Ian McCauley. Ian has birthright status there. Brian is the free agent. So they're teammates at 2 Briers playing for 2 different provinces. He's playing that hit. It looks like it's going to jam though. And if they get those blue stones off, they will not. So now Alberta has a chance to hit and sit 3. Pressure on Ontario. Ontario, as mentioned, does have last rock here in this first end. Teams here in the seeding pool, they were the teams that did not qualify for the championship pool. 2 pools of 7 in the Everest seniors. The top 4 in each pool go to the championship pool. The next 3 end up here in the seeding pool. They cross over to play from the other pool of seeding pool qualifiers. So 3 more round robin games for these teams that didn't make the championship pool. And that will determine the final standings. And it's, again, we mentioned that will set up the pools for next year's Everest seniors in Moncton. So maybe a little opportunity here for Ontario to get that hit and roll behind the corner guard. Maybe the call for Ian McCauley. Ian's been installing curling ice for 4 decades. Various places around Canada, mostly in Ontario, of course, but he's also been involved in the invention of some devices that are fairly commonplace, removable hats that are about in every club in the world right now. He was also involved in some of the tech that has gone into the handles being used at Grand Slam events that track the speed of the rock. There's sensors embedded in the handles that Ian was involved in developing. Makes the hit, does not get the roll. So James Paul now will take aim at that Ontario stone. It's the jam, so it's just Alberta sitting 1. Now Brian Cochran has the chance to get the hit and roll and develop a skip's deuce here. But it is that kind of week for Alberta. Just half shot, too many half shots would probably be the best way to describe it. That was a classic half shot there. They made the hit, but did not want the jam. They wanted to be sitting 2. Jammed at the back, and that gives Ontario not only a chance to get out of being forced, but maybe even get a hit and roll here and set up a 2. Brian Cochran now. And you see that movement. Roll too far. Yes, it will. It is shot, and something Alberta's going to have to be careful with because there is a jam there. Back. See Mark Flink, the vice skip for Alberta, looking at that jam and figuring out the angles that we have to respect here on this shot from James Paul. First shot here in the first end for James Paul, pardon me, second shot, trying to get the hit and roll himself. I think that'll bounce out into the open. See that rock bounced off the sideboards. Now Brian Cochran will just look to peel this out, get the blank, and take hammer into the second end. Retired principal, worked for many years at Russell High School. Playing the blank here now. We're going to have to watch for that jam over the side. And he will make it. So it will be zeros on the board. It will be Ontario that has last rock. And we come back after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club. We head into the second end of this featured men's game tonight between Team Alberta, Team Ontario. Always two of the contenders at the Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. Off year this year, but I'm sure both these teams want to finish on a high note here in Vernon. Regardless of the circumstances, we mentioned Alberta coming in with a 2-5 record, Ontario at 4-3. Pretty tidy first end there. Ontario, Brian Cochran making the open peel to get out of the force situation and carry last rock here into the second end. Ontario look to be adding to their leading total. They've won 13 Canadian Senior Men's Championships. That's the best in the country. Manitoba was next with 12, Alberta with 10. And only Manitoba right now has a chance to add to that total. Dave Boehmer's team from Petersfield in that championship pool. Center guard is put up by Team Alberta. Ontario can't make a play at the center guard because it's in the free guard zone rule, not in the free guard zone, not to mention touching the center line. So it's in the no-tick zone, so really the only logical shot to call for lead Ken Sullivan would be the open hit. Ken, Ian, and Brian Cochran have been longtime teammates at the senior level. They've had sort of a revolving door at second. Second this year, Graham Sinclair. Graham managing to take time off from his job at Air Canada. He's a long-haul pilot. His routes mostly to Asia on the Boeing 777. So next time you're on an Air Canada flight to Asia, you want to listen to the pilot's announcement, you might be listening to this man right here, the second for Team Ontario. He'll be up shooting in a moment. This is Kelly Mothy, second for Team Alberta. To get around that center guard, you can see that late movement. Hoping to keep this above the tee line. Looks like a pretty great result. Very nice weight there. Nice shot by Kelly Mothy. Now, from the second rocks, and Graham Sinclair can take a run at this run back. His daughter, of course, Jamie Sinclair. She's curled out of the U.S. and out of Canada. She's got dual citizenship. She managed to get that when her dad, Graham, was working in the Canadian Forces as a pilot. He was on an exchange assignments with the U.S. Air Force in Alaska, flying the F-15, and that's when Jamie was born. So that's what enabled her to be able to curl for Canada and the U.S. So got the top guard, but it's still Alberta shot in the rings. So Alberta will see if they can replace that guard and really go hard for a steal to open this game. First point on the board. 6 sheets in play here tonight at the Vernon Curling Club. All of the seeding pool games taking place tonight. They all played this morning at 8:30. And the championship pool got started earlier this afternoon. And we'll continue with another draw later this evening at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, 11:30 p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to watch action from that championship pool right here on TSN Plus as well as Curling Canada Plus. 4 sheets here at the Vernon Curling Club being streamed. Feature game on TSN Plus. You can also see those other sheets on Curling Canada Plus. Now Ontario seeing if they can weld one onto that Alberta counter. See if they can move it to the back of the house. Very nice shot by Graham Sinclair. Yes, it is still Alberta shot rock, but now it's behind the tee line, and that's a better scenario for Ontario. Mark Klink, the Alberta third. You can see a good chunk of that Ontario stone. See what they can do about yeah, you can see all of it just about edge on edge. You might get a little inside roll off this too. Gonna have to hold it on line though. Oh, good sweep there. So almost over curls, and it will push it to the back of the house, but it does not go out. Let's see if that comes into play later in the end. A little bit of a crack in the door here for Ontario. We'll see if they can take advantage. Might be able to get the double, might be able to get the hit and roll. And McCauley. Right away, that sweep is called by, or whistled for by Brian Cochran. Trying to hold it. You might get the inside roll on this. Just like that. That'll work. Very nice. Still think it's Alberta sitting shot. But there's starting to be a little bit of a buildup of some yellow, Ontario yellow in the rings, and we're just going to have to be careful with this. See James Paul eyeing up those angles. Looks like he wants to cut off that path that Ontario might have to promote their own that was just thrown by Ian McCauley. So Mark Klink will play a guard of some sort. Don't want to be too deep on this. Hockey and Schmidt, front enders, in charge of making sure that that weight is okay. Now let's watch this finish. That'll get the job done. Not get to the nose of that Ontario stone now. All they can do is see a piece of it, a very big piece of that. So Ian McCauley and Brian Cochran trying to decide what their best option is here. Might have to switch sides and come around on that clockwise rotation side. Ian's in turn. Looks like that'll be the call. Talked about this team winning the World Senior Curling Championship in 2019 in Stavanger, Norway. They were unbeaten. Morgan Curry was playing second for the team that year. Scottish team in the final. I see Ian McCauley's shot. That's still hanging out, but there will be some finish here. And we'll just cover the button, but I think that's accessible for Alberta. James Paul will put the broom down. In addition to being a pretty high-level curler who's been to a Brier with Kevin Martin, James Paul's also a pretty accomplished drag racer. Spent a lot of his summers at tracks all over North America. He's raced in the super street category in places like Rockingham, North Carolina, Memphis, Las Vegas, all over Western Canada. He was awfully fast for a few seconds in that drag racing circuit. 6 seconds to him is more about quarter mile time than it would be hog to hog a lot of times. Here he's going to take a pass at that Ontario stone that is biting the button. Chance for Alberta to potentially sit two here. Look at that dive in. And a little inside roll to boot. So it's Alberta sitting a couple. Pretty much behind cover too. Now what does Brian Cochran do? They're going to try and that yellow stone that was thrown by Ian McCauley that got the roll. I think they're going to try and see if they can chisel that in a little bit. Hit about a quarter of the rock, eighth to a quarter, and see what kind of action they can get on those two Ontario stones that are sitting shot right now. First shot here in this second end for Brian Cochran. See Alberta sitting a couple in that overhead shot. Put this to curl a little bit, I think. It's going to make contact? I don't think so. Misses both the yellow and blue, and it's still Alberta sitting a couple. Rock in hand. I think Alberta will not allow Brian to throw that shot twice. Try to put a guard up and take that shot away and say, okay, you can have the side of the button. Good luck. can see the Mark Klink and the Ontario back end kind of sizing it up, and I think they all kind of agree that this is not going to be a walk in the park for Ontario to score here in this second end. James Paul with his final shot here in the second end. Alberta sitting 2 and looking to protect that potential steal. Sweepers have backed right off of that. Hockey and Schmidt. Might get a little bounce out in the open. They just need to take that path away. That'll do it. Ryan Cochran's looking over there to see if there's something still there. I just don't know. And there's the broom going down, and as we suspected, will be his in-turn clockwise rotation. He should be able to get at that stone that's sitting on the button. We saw a lot of late movement when James Paul put one there, so I certainly think the ice will allow for the shot to be made, but boy, that's a big time pressure shot. As you see, it's over buried. This is a shot against 2 for Brian Cochran, so an early tester for the former world champion. Sinclair, Sullivan. It's their job to judge the weight. Now that's going to try and curl it over. Will it move? Will it touch anything? It will not. Now, the question is, it jammed on the back. Will it be 1 or 2? We'll take a close look. Certainly 1 for Alberta. I would not want to put any money down on which one is sitting second shot, or in fact third shot. Well, now we know that the yellow one is being pushed off, so I think we'll have a measure here to decide who gets this. If it's a 2 or 1 for Alberta. We know there's 1 in the bank. We'll run the measurement to see who is sitting second, but a great end there by Alberta. 2 great shots, especially that first one by James Paul. And he played the guard. A little bit of an opportunity that got away from Ontario on Brian's first. Just did not curl up at the end. You'll see the measurement conducted here. It's your money on, fans. Big steal of 2 if Alberta does get it. It's a big steal of 1 for that matter. And it is yellow that is sitting second, so, or no, it is. A little confusing the way she did that. We'll see what they post up, but we do know it will be Ontario, that Alberta will have the lead. We'll tell you how big a lead it is when we come back after this.
That was it?
Well, as you look at the scoreboard there, you can see it was a steal of 1 for Alberta. It was the Ontario Stone that was determined to be sitting second shot. So, considering that's probably a little bit of a moral win for Ontario, because that was looking awfully scary that they could be giving up a steal of 2. But 1 down with Hammer playing in the third end is not exactly the end of the world for this team, Ontario, which has plenty of experiences. Won a few games being down 1 early, I am positive, so here's a chance for them to get behind that short center. They'd like to keep this above the tee. Just slide over that Everest logo to the back 4. Saw how much movement there was in that draw. It poked out the other side. Just based on James Paul putting the broom down in the middle of the 12, that tells you how much this ice will curl. Meet John Schmidt. He's the owner of a company called Smitty's Automotive Service Center, which is a smaller shop that services the Sherwood Park area. I need to send out a shout out to the guys at the shop looking after things while he's here in Vernon. John, by the way, is, like his skipper, heavily into the drag racing scene. Won a few races himself. Said he sold everything in November 2021, and the last car he ever had did the quarter mile in 7.4 seconds. Now think about that. It's 184 miles an hour. So another guy like his skipper who likes to go fast. Ontario couldn't get around that guard. Now you've got a great wall covering that forefoot, and if Kelly Mothy can get this around with the counterclockwise rotation, his out turn, it's going to be trouble for Ontario to remove. Sweepers like the weight, trying to keep it on line. Should clear those guards. Will it get by those guards? No, it was a little light. So a little bit of an opportunity that gets away from Alberta there now. So there is the 1 Ontario Stone at the back 4, and it is well protected. That said, I think Ontario doesn't like that build-up of blue stones in front of the house, so I think the call will be Graham Sinclair to, I think if he hits just on the broom side, as he said, as Brian just indicated there, broom side of that yellow stone, should make a couple blues go away, and it might even land that yellow stone in the house, on top of the house. There it is. Very nice throw there by Graham Sinclair, and it leaves Ontario sitting 2. And also, as we mentioned, relieves some of that blue congestion out in front of the house. It's a key element of that shot. Let's see what Kelly Mothy can do. The run back is there. Could leave Alberta sitting a couple. Might be a little outside though. I don't think the run back will be made. They'd like, will they hold the shooter? Probably not. So Ontario now with shot rock. And the only concern that it is behind the tee line there, and if they make a half shot here, that might give the opportunity to Alberta to nudge one right up to that stone and almost cover the pin. So Ontario's got to be careful with this situation. Yes, they've got shot rock, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a fait accompli that they will actually get to count that shot rock. Sweepers are not touching this. Now they'll see if they can get a little sideways movement on it. That will curl up and into the top four. A little bit of a Christmas tree building up there for Ontario. That's a nice result. They have to work hard to get this by that top blue. Plank right to the nose of it, as a matter of fact. So it doesn't really change the scenario. Blue out in front and 2 Ontario stones in that 4-foot. Brian Cochran's thinking about going around to the open side or go around the blue stone over there. He's going to go open side with this for Ian McCauley. Sit 3. No, he actually is going to the other side. It was hard to tell where Brian had put the broom down, which way he was going, but now he on this one is going to stop. They'll go out the back, so a little bit of a miss there from Ian McCauley, and now we'll see if Alberta will try that run back, or will they try and just get to remove a good chunk of that yellow that's at the top 4. See Ian McCauley looking to see if that stone stayed on the rings. I don't think so. Well, maybe it is catching, so it'd be sitting 4th right now. So Mark Klink now. I think they'll just try and play a backline rate, maybe just through weight, to see if they can move that yellow stone off the top 4. Mark was tight with his first one. This one looks a little bit wide. Make contact with the back one. It will just roll out into the open, but still is Ontario sitting 2. So it looks like they're going to try and bring another one into that 4-foot, but come at it from the other side this time. Ian's in turn, clockwise rotation. Just lob another one in there and turn the screws a little tighter on Alberta as Ontario looks to respond from giving up that second-hand steal of 1. So Ian was a little heavy with his first draw. This one looks a little better. See if we can get half buried there. Oh, that's a great result. Very, very nice shot there from Ian McCauley. And it's Ontario sitting 3. A bit of a dilemma now for James Paul. See Mark Klink looking at those angles. I sense they're thinking about following much the same path that Ian McCauley just followed, and see if they can just get to almost the nose of that shot he just threw. Push it back to the 8 foot or so. They wouldn't be shot if they made this. It would still be Ontario, but certainly make it a little tougher to generate a second point for Ontario if you can hold the shooter right on the nose. They're successful in moving that Ontario shot stone back. James Paul, first shot here in this third end. Mothy trying to keep it straight. Will it get by the guard? That's going to overcurl and it'll come off that center guard. Shooter will slide into the rings. Still is Ontario sitting 3. Question here for Brian Cochran: how does he protect those 2 stones, knowing that he can't protect everything? How to make James Paul's shot as tough as possible? James will have a shot to get out of this jam somehow, some way. Obviously, that run back and the stone that is just biting the top of the 12 would be on the table. It's just a matter of what Brian and Ian decide is the shot they want to leave him. Seems like if you bring another one in there that they're looking at. That's the call, is they're just going to put another shot on top of those 2 yellows at the top of the 4. Add a little more congestion in that 4-foot region. And just say, James, try your best. First shot here for Brian Cochran in this third end. Claire and Sullivan working hard on this. Have to get it in as tight as possible to their shot stones at the top 4. 8 looks pretty good. There it is. Ontario sitting 4 now. As Alberta try the same shot that was being discussed that James Paul tried on his first. Do they run their rock at the top of the 12, the 12-foot biter at the top of the picture there? Do they run that into the pile? Neither one is a walk in the park. You'd certainly get lots of action on that run back. The way those rocks are staggered against each other, you got to think easily get 2 out. Of course, playing some weight on that side where he's got his broom is an option too. Certainly get 2 out of the mix, or you just play a nose hit on that stone that is sitting shot and leave your shooter there, and let's see what Alberta or Ontario can do with that. But I think they want to get a couple out of there and be happy to give up only 2 here. course, if they hit all they can see of the Alberta stone that's biting on is the one at the top of that pile, they might get some significant action too. Well, that'll get one stone out, but it does leave 2 Ontario counters in there. And now this will be a draw for 3 for Brian Cochran. Just needs to touch the 4-foot. I'll count that Alberta stone that's at 7 o'clock. Bottom left of the house there. Big opportunity for Ontario to respond after giving up the steal in the second end. Brian Cochran now. Does love to throw a draw, so this will be right in his wheelhouse. Intern is his intern. Clockwise rotation. Sullivan and Sinclair. It's their rock now. They've been working at it almost since he let it go. Looks like they will get the job done. Very nice sweeping by that front end. And it does go on the board as a 3 for Ontario. Alberta will have the Hammer trailing by 2 when we come back after this. Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the 4th end of this featured men's seeding pool game between Ontario and Alberta. And a big 3-count for Ontario. Hammer here in the 4th. Quick look at the other scores on the ice here at the Vernon Curling Club in Draw 14 of the 2023 Everest Seniors. It is Northern Ontario in men's play, looking to improve to 4-4. The Rosenboom team from Thunder Bay up 5-1 on Team Terry Miller from the Yukon. A steal of 2 in the first end from Northern Ontario, and they follow up with 3 in the third. It is Yukon with Hammer in the 4th with a 5-1 lead for Northern Ontario. In the other men's game, it's a battle of the North. Team Nunavut, Peter Mackey's team from Iqaluit taking on the Van Thyn outfit from Yellowknife, and it is the Northwest Territories taking a 4-2 lead in Nunavut. Both those teams at 0-7 coming in. Nunavut opened with steals of 1 in the first and second ends, but the Northwest Territories crack a 4 in the third. So Nunavut trails by 2. It has Hammer in the 4th end. Women's games. It is Northern Ontario team Stacy Shevsky taking on the Yukon team Lorna Spenner. And it is a 3-0 lead for Northern Ontario. Both those teams with 1-6 records. Northern Ontario opens with a steal of 2 in the first, steals 1 more in the second, and it is the Yukon with Hammer in the third, trailing 3-0. Newfoundland Labrador's team Pam Osborne from St. John's taking on Prince Edward Island's team Susan McInnes. PEI coming in with a 4-3 record. Newfoundland Labrador at 2-5, and it is Newfoundland Labrador with a 3-2 lead. Newfoundland Labrador gets 1 in the first, and then the teams have traded deuces. So it's PEI with Hammer in the 4th, trailing 3-2. And in the other game, a pair of 1-6 teams, Nunavut, Geneva Chislett from Iqaluit taking on New Brunswick's team Shelley Graham from Fredericton. And it was a 6-0 lead for the team from New Brunswick. They steal 1 in the first, 2 more in the second, and 3 in the third. Nunavut has last rock playing in the fourth end. Reminder, you can get all the scores all the time on curling.ca/scoreboard. That's curling.ca/scoreboard. Our feature game here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. Ontario gets that big 3 count in the fourth end. Brian Cochran making a nice draw to the forefoot. So Alberta will have hammer here in the fourth. It's the first time that Alberta has last rock advantage in this game. Had one buried behind that corner guard. We'll see if Graham Sinclair will get there. It looks like that's going to be on the guard though. I saw James Paul rushing out there to see if he could take it to the sideboards. That's in the free guard zone, but it will not move. And of course, that is not in that no-tick zone, so it was fully allowed to move that rock off, and actually ends up in a nice spot for Ontario as it rolls over and provides a little more protection of their own stone that's at the top 12. So Alberta will try and get around that pile, it looks like. Moffey on the counterclockwise turn, his out turn. Should be some late movement on this. There you see it, and it comes to rest. That's almost all into the forefoot. Mostly buried, but it looks like Ontario won't hesitate to see if they can weld one onto that stone that was just thrown by Alberta. Graham Sinclair. That would just come up a little bit light, but still usable. So Alberta looking to answer back with a deuce if possible here. Looks like they are sitting 2. Trying to keep this line out there to get past the Ontario stone. I think they'll overthrow and just make contact. Spin in. Looks like they've promoted the Ontario stone to be second shot though. Now is their shot at the double. Brian Cochran's going to come out and see if there's enough air there. Have a little chat, see if they're all on the same page. Ian McCauley's shot. Just have to get by that Yellowstone that is sitting second shot. And you see where Brian has his broom. I think they will take a run at this. Great opportunity here to move that completely buried Alberta stone that is shot rock right now. Throw some weight at this one. Ian McCauley. Just off a mentioned, just get by their own. Just like that. What a terrific shot by Ian McCauley. Now it is Ontario sitting 2. There's that, we talk about the Christmas tree. That is a Christmas tree. So now Mark Klink. Now if he can get around that, all those yellows, it would be very hard to get at for Ontario. So still a deuce on the table here for Ontario, for Alberta, pardon me. Got a yellow in the rings here. And a stop in front of the tee line, it will not. Still, it is shot rock for Alberta. Ian McCauley. See if he can follow that stone down and get to the face of it. Front end for Ontario working hard. Might have been just a little bit tight. Will it get by that high at first guard? It does. Will it get by the 12-foot shot? Oh, it'll just rub. But it'll still spin in for shot rock. And about half buried too. Nice outcome there for Ontario. And you see James Paul turn around laughing with Brian Cochran. A bit of a break there, but well managed in terms of weight, good sweeping as well, and they still get something positive out of it. Now, Mark Klink will follow the same path again. He might be able to cross the face of that yellow and push it back. Enough. Now you see that Alberta front end sweeping. Called off now. Back on. Must be close. They'll try and see if they can get some late finish on it. If they move back enough, it will not. It's still Ontario sitting shot rock. Some options available here for Ontario. Do they guard it? Do they... That blue that is over there on the left-hand side, Ian McCauley's feet, could be used later in this end as an in-off. I want to remove that. See if they can get the roll in themselves.
Yeah, we think it's three of those more than four. But, oh, you're right. Number one.
So I think they are playing the hit and roll here. Brian continuing to talk this out, make sure they're entirely on the same page. 2-point lead for Ontario. It is Alberta with last rock here in this fourth end. Seeding pool action here on Curling Canada Plus and TSN Plus. The 2023 Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. Sweeping called right away. Now it's called off. Get the inside roll on this. Sinclair trying to get a little action on it. There's the hit. There's the roll. Just a little too far. Need to hit that a little thicker. Fortunate, too, that they didn't actually push their own back, but it is still Ontario sitting shot rock. Now you wonder, is the hit and roll off of that stone available to Alberta? James Paul looking at that. A couple options. You can either bump their own blue up, sit 2, maybe 3, or they come off of that stone that's at 9 o'clock. James just put his broom on there and get the double that way and sit 3. Similar shot that Ian McCauley played early in this end. Every Yellowstone in play here in this end. And they're sitting 1. It looks like that is going to be the call that James Paul wants to play. Come in off of that Yellowstone where Mark Link's broom is. Go across, shoot across, and take out that Yellowstone that is at the back of the button. Potentially sit 3. Final shot here for James Paul. Did they leave it too long? I think it, almost. Just curled up at the end to keep the sweep on that one. Now it's Ontario sitting 2 and a chance to put another one in there. Awfully tough for Alberta to score. Alberta with hammer here in the 4th. Down a couple. That was an opportunity that just got away from Alberta, and that's the kind of week it's been. Certainly a makeable shot. Not an easy shot, but certainly makeable, and it just curled up at the end and wrecked, and that gives Ontario the chance to ratchet up the pressure here. Sit 3 surrounding the button. I'm not quite sure how Alberta scores. Honestly, I don't know that they score. Sullivan, Graham Sinclair work on dragging this in, see if they can get it covering the button kinda like that, right on that Everest logo, and wow. That is going to be awfully tough for Alberta to get a point. I think almost they'd be happy just to give up one here. Now, he may be playing the in off of that blue. See if he can get a little sideways action that could spin these rocks out, at least out of the forefoot. But this would be known as on a wing and a prayer here for Alberta. James Paul's final shot here in this 4th end, down 2. Needing something awfully special here. James Paul. Trying to keep it on line. There's the off. Well, that's a good steal of one for Ontario if you're Alberta. Boy, that could have been worse. It will be a single point for Team Ontario. So, Ryan Cochran's team from Ottawa will go up 4-1. Alberta will have hammer when we come back for the fourth end. The teams will take a fourth end break. We will too. We'll be back in a few moments here at the Vernon.
I could have done that. I didn't have the air for it. Yeah. My naked shot, then you know. Yeah, I went. Yeah, because it went from just 3/4 of a watt to like north. I think that was. We got to keep that stuff. Somebody had to take her now. They said to see how I do it. You need my handle. Yeah. You need my handle. Your handle? Why? What do you mean? Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what those are. Okay. Right on the handle? Yeah. So that's that little light you see? Yeah. There we go. Everything fits in the handle. You are. I make waste of that. If we make my first one. Well, you said 45. Sneaky good, right?
Welcome back to the Vernon Curling Club as we head into the second half of tonight's featured seeding pool game between Team Ontario, Team Alberta, here at the Everest Canadian Senior Men's and Women's Curling Championships. My name is Al Cameron. My pleasure to bring you tonight's game here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. And as you see, it is Ontario with a 4-1 lead, big 3 in the second end, and then a steal of 1 in the fourth. Has them in front here. 3 in the third end has them in front here against Alberta. Traditional rivals, obviously, at all Curling Canada National Championships. And 2 teams that, as we said off the top, arrived here in Vernon with some high expectations based on recent successes at this event. Team James Paul last year finished second at this event, losing in the final to another Ottawa team, skipped by Howard Rajala. Of course, Brian Cochran's team, 2 gold medals, 2 silver medals in recent years, a World Senior Curling Championship, a World Senior Silver Medal. So lots of pedigree on the ice right here, and just hasn't been the week they wanted. We're looking to finish in style here in this seeding pool. We'll play one more game here tomorrow afternoon. That'll be at 2 p.m. Pacific. 5 p.m. Eastern. Of course, games will be seen on Curling Canada Plus as well as TSN Plus. I mentioned that the results of the seeding pool will determine the final overall standings and set up the pools for next year's Everest Seniors in Moncton. Even though, like I said, it hasn't been the week they wanted, lots of smiles during that fourth end break. The teams are talking to each other, having a laugh, and I'm sure they'll continue up in the lounge upstairs here at the Vernon Curling Club after the game. It's been a very lively place here, both here and at the hotel. The Everest Lounge at the hotel has been hopping, as you might expect, and once again, just a great shout out of appreciation to our great sponsors at Everest Funeral Concierge. Done a wonderful job with this event, as well as the Everest Curling Club Championships that were held recently in Winnipeg. Just great supporters of curling across this country. So our sincere thanks to Everest Funeral Concierge for everything they do for the sport of curling, and particularly for this event this week here in Vernon. And it's been a very, very well-received event in Vernon. Lots of fans coming out and enjoying the action. And we're glad that you're with us here tonight, taking in the action on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. So a 3-point lead for Ontario. Alberta will look to see if they can put a crooked number on the scoreboard. They got that corner guard up, and they tried to get one behind it, but it's just about, I would say, 3/4 exposed, and certainly accessible for Ontario second, Graham Sinclair. You know, in talking to these players over the course of the week, you can sense their frustration, but they also, you kind of get a clue earlier in the week when things aren't going your way, and both of these teams had their struggles. As I said, it's a half shot here, a half shot there, and they all add up. And Ontario came close to qualifying for the championship pool. They finished with a 3-3 record. But that was not good enough to get through. We're one game behind Team Quebec and there's 3 teams tied for 4-2 in Pool A. That was New Brunswick, Manitoba, and Quebec. Ontario, I think their loss to Quebec was particularly frustrating. There was a shot for 2 that Brian Cochran had in the 6th end of that game, and very, very makeable, missed it, and then immediately Quebec came back and scored 4. And I think that's when Ontario realized this was not going to be their week. So both these teams won their first seeding pool games earlier today. Ontario defeated Nunavut 11-2. Alberta, meanwhile, was able to get by the Yukon 9-2. So both coming in after wins, and as I said, looking to finish with some pride here at the Everest Seniors. So as you might expect, Ontario with that lead and sitting 2 anyways, and as well as Sportsrec, they'll just remove that corner guard, and they're okay with giving up 1. Probably okay even with giving up 2 here to Alberta. They just don't want anything more than that. Give up 2, they're 1 up with Hammer playing the 6th end, and that's a good place to be if you're Ontario. So now Alberta will change the game plan a little bit. They'll see if they can get one buried behind those 2 top Ontario stones. As we've said, this ice is certainly conducive to this kind of shot. Some ice surfaces would not allow you to bury behind those 2 stones, but you could easily get behind those 2 and be in front of the tee line. Tilly Mothy would try that. Trying to keep this on line, but once it gets going, it's hard to stop it from curling. Well, made contact with one of those top guards. Weight was pretty good. Just needed maybe 10 centimeters more of ice. He might have got that started a little as well, but Brian Cochran will come out and have a look and have a chat with Ian McCauley to discuss their thoughts and what to do. Mentioned Brian does have a throat condition that prevents him from talking loudly. He can certainly carry on an average conversation right beside you, but raising his voice does cause some discomfort, so he does have permission to use a whistle. You see it hanging around his neck. It just short little peeps of that whistle, and that's the signal to his sweepers on and off. Ian McCauley will be asked to remove that Alberta stone. The question may have been regarding, do they want to keep the shooter? Do they want to try and roll it in? Do they want to just hit it on the nose? Seems like the nose is the call here. They don't necessarily want to roll it in. There it is. And that certainly gives them something to use if Alberta gets one around on the other side. But it looks like they're going to lay a hit on that stone that was just thrown and then maybe bounce in off the backside of one of those Ontario stones that's touching the center line and then bounce closer to the 4-foot. Mark Klink will be asked to take the shot. Go across the face of it. He's being asked to see if he can get a little inside movement on it, but it looks like that's going to be pretty much on the nose. So Ontario is still sitting 2. Trying to get this on line. Should be on the nose. So what does Alberta do now to try and generate this deuce? couple, but I think Ontario just doesn't want to take any chances here. They're going to try and see if they can remove those 2 stones at the top of the house. I don't think they mind losing their own. It's there. They just want to keep that 4-foot area open and don't allow anything to build up for Alberta. Ryan Cochran, first shot here in the 5th end. And makes the double for fun. And now it is Ontario sitting 4. Alberta looking for some kind of crack in the door, but Ontario has played very well here in this seeding pool game. We'll see what Alberta can come up with here, but not looking promising for a deuce. And a single point, really not helpful. Better than nothing, I guess, but we'll be down 2 without playing the 6th end, and the analytics tell you that's a good place to be if you're Ontario. So they'll try and see if they can get one buried behind that top Alberta stone. James Paul. That looks like it's going to over-curl, and it's been that kind of week for Team Alberta. So Ontario still sitting 3 here. Cochran by just looking to put it in a spot that makes it really difficult for Alberta to score. Quick reminder, we'll be back on the air later this evening, 8:30 Pacific, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus with championship pool play at the Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships. Teams in the championship pool play their 2nd games tonight. We'll have 2 more tomorrow. That'll lead us into Saturday's semifinals and then the medal games. The gold and silver medal, gold, silver, and bronze will be decided Saturday afternoon here at the Vernon Curling Club. I think they just settled on something that's in the 8-foot, covering that 4-foot circle. Might be a little deeper than they'd hoped. Settle at the side of the button. James Paul put the broom down and look to make that open hit to score 1. Draw times tomorrow here at the Vernon Curling Club. Championship pool games at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific time. That's 1 p.m. and 9 p.m. Eastern. And a seeding pool game that will take place at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And all 3 of those draws, you can watch them here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. Schmidt trying to keep this straight. Is it going to over-curl? I think it's going to touch their own. It will. It'll be a steal of 4. Yes, it'll be a steal of 4 for Ontario. And Struggles go on for Team Alberta. So Ontario takes an 8-1 lead. Alberta will hammer when we come back after this. We're back at the Vernon Curling Club heading into the 6th end of the seeding pool men's game between Team Alberta, Team Ontario, and it is all Team Ontario, a steal of 4 in that 5th end. They take an 8-1 lead. Take a quick look at the other scores on the ice here at the Vernon Curling Club as the seeding pool continues. Men's games, the other men's games, it is Team Northern Ontario, Team Rosengren, looking even their record at 4-4. They've taken a 7-2 lead now on Team Terry Miller from the Yukon, coming in with a 1-6 record. 2 in the 5th end for Northern Ontario had their lead at 7-2, playing the 6th. Yukon was hammered. In the other men's game, it is the Northwest Territories, Team Van Fine playing Team Nunavut, Team Mackey. Both those teams with 0-7 records, so something has to give. It's looking like the Northwest Territories are on their way to a victory. They have a 5-2 lead right now. They took 4 in the 3rd and then stole 1 in the 4th. So it is 5-2, Nunavut with hammer in the 6th. 3 women's games in action tonight. Team Northern Ontario, the Shefsky team from Keewatin. They have a 5-1 lead, make that 5-2 now over Team Yukon, Lauren Spenner's team from Whitehorse. Northern Ontario with a deuce in the 4th. Yukon comes back with 1 in the 5th, so it is Northern Ontario with Last Rock playing in the 6th end. Inland Labrador team Pam Osborne from St. John's looking to improve to 3-5. They have a 4-2 lead over Team PEI, skipped by Susan McInnes. Inland Labrador takes 2 in the 3rd, steals 1 in the 4th to go up 4-2. So it is Prince Edward Island with Last Rock playing in the 5th. And in the other game, Team Nunavut mounting a bit of a comeback against New Brunswick. New Brunswick's Team Graham took a 6-0 lead on steals after 3 ends. Nunavut has come back with 3 in the 4th and a steal of 1 in the 5th. So it is New Brunswick with a 6-4 lead and Last Rock playing in the 6th end. A reminder, all the scores, all the line scores, all the standings, all the playoff scenarios, you can find them all the time on curling.ca/scoreboard. That's curling.ca/scoreboard. Like a pretty open end here, and just you sense that frustration up and down this Alberta lineup. Obviously a better team than what they've showed here, and keep talking about those half shots, and they just batted up and they've come at the exact wrong time. And every curler here, in fact every high level curler has had weeks like that. It just doesn't go your way. Reminder that once we get through the championship pool games, that will wrap up tomorrow night at 6 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern. Once those games are complete, we will get into the semifinal pairings. We'll know the semifinal pairings. There will be no tiebreaker games. Ties are broken first based on head-to-head record. And if that doesn't break the tie, for instance, if there's 3 teams tied for 1 or 2 spots, and they're all 1-1 against each other, then last shot draw distance will be used to rank the teams. That will give us our 4 semifinal teams. The men's and women's semifinals will take place Saturday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That'll be followed at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern by the men's gold and bronze medal games. Then we'll move into the women's gold and bronze medal games that will start at 3:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. In those games, you'll see all the action right here on Curling Canada Plus and TSN Plus. As we've been saying, the winning team from those gold medal games will wear the maple leaf at the 2024 World Senior Curling Championships that will take place in Östersund, Sweden in April. It's a city that's in inland Sweden, and believe it or not, further north than Yellowknife, well up there in the Swedish hinterlands. Of course, that World Senior Championships will run concurrent with the World Mixed Doubles Championship. Of course, Canada will be entering those World Seniors as defending champions. Last April in Gangneung, South Korea, it was Team Sherry Anderson winning her 3rd World Senior Women's Championship. And on the men's side, it was Howard Rajala from Ottawa, giving Canada its 4th consecutive World Championship. The year before, it was Wade White, his team from Edmonton, winning in Geneva, Switzerland. Of course, the 20 and 21 World Seniors were canceled due to COVID, so in 2019 it was Team Brian Cochran, whom we're watching here tonight, winning in Stavanger, Norway. And prior to that, Wade White in Östersund. So the World Seniors going back to Östersund for the first time since 2018. Third rocks as these teams are going to just run it up and down, and I suspect we'll probably see some handshakes at the end of this 6th end. It's one of those nights for Alberta where nothing was going to go right. And you know what? We've got a great lounge here at the Vernon Curling Club, so I think we'll just rather talk things out at the lounge upstairs and have a sociable or two. Of course, long-time Curling Canada host with the most, Stu Brown is here, keeping things light for all the curlers here. Of course, a great crew from Everest. Randy Furby's here, Brent Lang, Jennifer Jones, Al Hackner, all repping that great partners at Everest Funeral Concierge. So lots of fun to be had by these 50 and over curlers competing at the Everest Seniors. One more game for each of these teams. As mentioned, they'll play tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock Pacific time. Team Alberta will finish off against the Northwest Territories. Team Alberta will play its final game. Alberta will play the Northwest Territories. Team Ontario will play tomorrow against Northern Ontario, the Battle of Ontario, which always has a little extra juice. He is King of the Hill in Ontario. And that will be the draw to the button, and that will produce the handshake. So it is going to be a final score of Team Ontario 8, Team Alberta 2. And that will wrap things up for our coverage here tonight from the Everest Canadian Senior Curling Championships from this seeding pool draw. A reminder, we'll be back on the air with championship pool play at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on TSN Plus and Curling Canada Plus. So for now, this is Al Cameron saying so long from Perth.
You can fly your